You stand in the frost-bitten air of a Norse longhouse, the scent of pine smoke and damp wool curling around you like a lover's whisper. The fire crackles, casting shadows that dance across bearded faces and braided hair, each gleam a testament to a people who defy the grime of their world. Vikings they call themselves, and tonight their secrets of flesh and fire unfold for you. Not the blood-soaked tales of raids, but something raw sex power, and the pulse of desire that hums beneath their rugged lives. You're not here for philosophy. You're here for the grit, the heat, the clash of wills in a world where survival and seduction are one. Like this tale, share your own dark winter story in the comments and tell us where you're listening from. Let the saga spread. These Vikings, they're cleaner than the sagas let on. Not perfumed nobles, mind you, but by the standards of a Europe caked in mud and piety, they're damn near divine. While monks across the sea clutch their crosses and shun water as temptation, you see a Viking warrior scrubbing his skin with soap carved from animal fat and ash. It smells of earth, of life itself, and it clings to him as he combs his flaxen hair, each strand gleaming like a blade under moonlight. His grooming kit, bone combs, iron files, hangs at his belt, as vital as his axe. You watch him stride into the longhouse, braids tight, nails trimmed, breath sharp with mint chewed from wild herbs. In a world where others reek of decay, he's a walking defiance, a man who knows his worth is in his presence. The monks, oh, they noticed. Their quills scratched bitter notes, cursing these Norse devils, whose cleanliness stole the hearts of local women. Soap, they whined, was their sorcery. And in this frozen hall you feel it the power of a man who washes not just for gods, but for the woman whose eyes burn brighter than the hearth. You lean closer to the fire, its warmth kissing your skin as the Viking's gaze meets yours across the smoky longhouse. His cleanliness isn't just habit, it's a weapon sharp as any blade. The Anglo-Saxon chroniclers, those sour monks huddled in their damp cloisters, scribbled their envy in cramped script. These Norsemen, too clean, too comely, were stealing their women with nothing but soap and swagger. You smirk at the thought, imagine losing your beloved because a raider bothered to bathe. But here in this world of ice and iron, hygiene is no jest. Its status a mark of freedom. A free man, you learn, must look the part, hair-combed beard, trimmed body scrubbed until it sings of strength. The unkempt, they're the poor, the enslaved, or the fools who let lice nest in their locks. You catch a woman's glance, her eyes tracing the Viking's neat braids, her lips parting as if to taste the air he commands. Cleanliness here is ritual before feasts, before battles, before the heated press of bodies in the dark. It's not just about dirt, it's about honour, a vow to gods and lovers alike. You feel the weight of it, the expectation to be more than flesh, to be a presence undeniable in a world that smells of blood and frost. Subscribe if this saga grips you. Let's see how deep this Viking fire burns. You feel the chill wind whip through the longhouse door, carrying whispers of ancient verses that ignite more than fires. Forget the brutish grunts and savage drags by the hair. Viking romance is a blade wrapped in silk, sharp with poetry that cuts to the bone. These raiders bloodied from battle turn tender with words, crafting skaldic verses, dense as a storm cloud, metaphors piling like waves on a fjord. You hear a man murmur to his beloved, her hair like sunlit flax, rippling in the breeze, her stride a swan's grace onto turbulent seas. And if the flames rise higher, her body becomes a well-tempered sword forged in heat, unyielding, yet supple under his touch. It's no mere flirtation. It's a cultural dance where each line must weave at least 3 veiled nods to nature's fury or beauty, or you're dismissed as a fool with a dull tongue. But beware the edge, these poems turn graphic, laced with veiled threats of passion that borders on possession. Composed without consent and you've crossed into peril, the Icelandic Gregas code brands such verses as defamatory, obscene, a spark that could ignite exile or a blood feud. You sense the tension, the air thick with unspoken desires where words are weapons, and a poorly aimed stanza might end in steel clashing under the northern lights. In this world love isn't whispered law, it's roared in rhyme, a seductive storm that pulls you under. You watch her now, the woman in the corner, eyes like forged iron as she uncoils her own verse in response. No blushing maiden, but a warrior of words. Viking women don't wilt under poetic advances. They strike back with verses that bite deeper than a serpent's fang, humiliating the unworthy in public feasts, where families avert their gaze for generations. If his poem is lame, crude, or reeks of laziness, her retort lashes out sharp as a whip in the frost, exposing his flaws to the hall's roaring laughter. In one saga you witness it unfold, a suitor's clumsy lines met with her finesse, weaving mockery into metaphor until he flees, humiliated, seeking solace in a monastery, flirted into faith, his ego shattered like ice under a boot. You feel the power shift the air charged with her command, where poetry isn't just flirtation but a battlefield of hearts. Swords and axes may rule the raids, but here in matters of desire verses are the true arsenal, loaded with metaphors, dripping with brag, and deadly if wielded with overconfidence. A misstep and you're not just rejected, you're legendarily ridiculed, a cautionary tale whispered over mead. Yet in this dance there's sensuality too, her words tracing invisible lines of heat, promising or denying with equal fire. Tell us in the comments what's your sharpest retort in love. The saga continues if you dare. You sink deeper into the firs, the longhouse's shadows lengthening as talk turns to unions forged not in fact on the passion's blaze, but in the cold calculus of survival. Viking romance. It's no bed of rose petals or flickering candles. It's a bargain struck over mead where your father's goats and my sturdy back seal a pact as binding as chains. Consent lurks in the corners, yes, but it must shove past dowries thick as winter snow alliances that bind clans like iron rivets and kinfolk whose opinions roar louder than a storm. Picture it, a man eyes alight with desire, doesn't croon under stars to his intended. No, he dispatches his father, uncle or silver-tongued comrade to haggle with her sire, debating land livestock and legacies over foaming horns. You feel the tension, the air heavy with unspoken wants, as the woman freeborn, technically empowered, holds a veto in her grasp. But honour it, that hinges on her family's greed for soil shields, or simply shedding a sharp-tongued daughter. Sagas whisper of iron-willed women spurning suitors, their refusals echoing like thunder. Others they flee, hearts pounding, knowing refusal might summon pursuit fiercer than a wolf's. Yet in this savage practicality there's a thread of mercy. Vikings aren't utter barbarians. A forced bride can claim recourse, her voice a blade in the night. The fire pops, mirroring the sark of intrigue where love's negotiations teeter on betrayal's edge. You taste the metallic tang of resolve as the woman rises, her declaration slicing the air like a sea axe through flesh. No paperwork, no drawn-out courts, just 3 bold proclamations before witnesses shattering bonds in a feast hall's roar. "It's not me, it's you!" she shouts, voice laced with venom, turning a dinner into divorce theatre, her freedom reclaimed amid gasps and glares. But abduction... that's a Thorna saga romantic in twisted tales, yet Viking lore scowls upon it, branding bride theft illegal, though bards sometimes sing its praises in blood-tinged ballads. Mixed signals abound, the code forbids it, yet verses glorify, leaving you to navigate the haze, where desire clashes with decree. Then come the concubines, bed thralls in their charming parlance, enslaved women bound to serve their bodies, bartered for companionship meals simmered over hearths, and nights of unwilling intimacy. Consent. A fragile veil often torn, yet if a husband falters, his touch cold, his heart colder, the wife needn't endure in shadows. She can roar her discontent, backed by law, her exit a storm of public scorn. You sense the undercurrent's power imbalances laced with sensuality's edge, where a thrall's whispered defiance might spark rebellion, or a wife's bold stride toward freedom ignites clan wars. In this world, unions are fragile as frost, ready to crack under betrayal's boot. What's your take on such tangled bonds? Share below and let's press on. You feel the weight of chains not forged in iron but in the cruel whims of fate, as the Longhouse shadows reveal the bed thralls women captured in raids, their bodies bartered like shields expected to stir the hearth, mend the sails and yield to desires in the flickering dark. Consent. It's a ghost in this realm haunting, but rarely heeded, as these enslaved souls navigate nights where touch turns from tender to tyrannical, their whispers of defiance swallowed by the roar of mead-fueled revels. Yet even here the scales tip if a husband's fire dims his embraces cold as a fjord's depths, or his heart twists with cruelty. You see his wife rise like a storm, her voice a thunderclap declaring freedom backed by the law's grudging nod. No silent suffering. She unleashes her fury publicly, perhaps with a blade glinting in the firelight, turning marital discord into a saga of bloody reckoning. But before the vows, ere the Vikings bend like reeds in the wind, premarital dalliances aren't sins etched in stone, unlike the chastity-obsessed neighbours south who forge belts of iron to cage desire. You taste the freedom in it, two lovers entwining under furs, their breaths mingling hot and urgent bodies, exploring without the world's collapse. Families might arch brows if whispers spread or bellies swell untimely, but no towers rise to imprison daughters, no gadgets invented to thwart nature's call. It's life raw and unrelenting, where passion flows as freely as blood and battle, and a woman's past is no shackle unless it drags scandal like a corpse through the hall. In this flexible weave, intrigue simmers a secret affair might forge alliances or spark feuds, a lover's mark hidden under wool promising violence if revealed. You sense the pulse of a society that values a woman's fire over fragile purity, where virginity isn't a crown but a fleeting shadow, eclipsed by her prowess in weaving fates and wielding words. She's prized for her cunning in the farm's rhythm, her sharp trades at the market's edge, her unyielding stance in legal storms that could fell oaks, far more than an untouched history that winters erode anyway. Life's brutality demands it endless cold snaps raids that paint snow red where a partner's strength trumps romantic ghosts. You imagine her calloused hands tracing a lover's scars, they're a union, defiant spark against the encroaching dark practicality reigning supreme. Yet discretion cloaks these preludes boast of conquests, and you court peril, a man's loose tongue inviting legal lashes, or a kin's vengeful blade. Kiss and tell. It's not mere rudeness. It's a fuse to drama that could scorch the feast hall reputations crumbling like ash. If he spills secrets without her or nod, the law descends like Odin's ravens pecking at his honour until blood flows. You feel the intrigue thicken, whispers of forbidden trysts fueling betrayals, where a jealous rival might twist tales into weapons igniting duels under moonlit skies, steel singing through bone. Women bold as shield maidens are lauded in sagas for chasing desires with sword in hand, their confidence a sensual blaze that draws admirers like moths to flame. But overstep and violence erupts, a public scandal might end in a brawl, fists cracking ribs, or worse, a supernatural curse, whispered in the night, turning lovers to foes. Respect agency, they say, lest the gods themselves stir the pot of vengeance. What's your boldest pursuit of desire? Comment below as the threads of fate tighten. You plunge into the swirling mists of myth, where the Norse pantheon unfolds like a fevered dream, a divine tangle of shape-shifting liaisons and cross-dressed deceptions that make modern scandals pale. Frey, the fertility god, strides forth unsubtle as a storm, his form etched with overwhelming vigour, his sacred idols boasting features that pulse with life's raw insistence. You envision his rituals fields alive with suggestive harvests, worshippers entwining in ecstatic rites under moonlight celebrating desire's bloom, with hands that trace forbidden curves, breaths quickening in the god's shadow. No modesty here. Frey's domain is the heat of creation, where bodies clash like thunder, sensuality, a sacred for. Then Loki Chaos incarnate morphs into a mare sleek and yielding to lure a stallion's fury. The ploy succeeds too well, leaving him swollen with unnatural life-birthing Sleipnir the eight-legged steed in a grotesque parody of motherhood. You feel the absurdity's edge, the fluidity of form and desire where gender bends like willow in wind intimacy, a trickster's game laced with betrayal's sting. Thor mighty Thunderer dons bridal veils and gowns to reclaim his hammer, grunting beneath the fabric, his beard itching, as giants leer the disguise phrase. But victory comes amid confusion, a hammer's crash echoing like suppressed laughter. These tales weave intimacy into absurdity, gods tumbling through affections that defy neat bounds, their entanglements, a cosmic brawl of passion and folly. Romance, gender, desire, all fluid as blood in veins gloriously messy where a god's kiss might seal a pact or spark a war. Supernatural whispers, urging mortals toward their own shadowed cravings. You emerge from the myths, embrace their wild contours no longer shocking, but woven into the fabric of existence where Vikings saw not scandal, but the heartbeat of a complicated cosmos. Fertility's surge, love's treacherous paths, trickery's sly grin. These aren't sins, but divine echoes, gods misbehaving not from malice, but from life's inherent chaos, their follies mirrors to mortal struggles. You ponder Loki's equine travail, a quirky yarn spun over mead teaching, that even gods yield to necessity, birthing wonders from folly, a lesson in resilience where intimacy's absurd twists forge strength. Thor's bridal farce, a nod to cunning over brute force, his veiled grunts a reminder that boundaries blur in pursuit of power, desire's flame flickering through disguise. These stories matter because they shatter categories, romance as battle gender, as illusion, intimacy as a river carving stone inappropriate only to prudes clutching purity. Modern eyes might balk summoning seminars to dissect divine dalliances, but Vikings embraced the mess, their myths, a tapestry of human frailty, amplified affection, teetering on absurdity, often astride a spectral steed. The gods crossed lines with abandoned horseback charges into the unknown, urging you to question your own rigid walls. Yet here's the intrigue whispers of betrayal lurk, a god's affair sparking cosmic feuds, supernatural vendettas, bleeding into mortal realms where a lover's pact might summon curses or blessings. Life's lessons raw and unfiltered from a shape-shifting horse mom who defies all. In this pantheon, normalcy is the myth embrace the storm or be swept away. What's your wildest myth-inspired tale, share as shadows deepen? You tread the precarious line of Viking norms where rules bind like iron fetters yet bend under passion's heat gender, and desire a battlefield where one wrong step invites ruin. For men, the deepest wound isn't a thief's label or coward's sneer, it's ergi, a venomous word that strikes at the core, branding you passive-submissive, a failure in the raw duties of manhood, especially where bodies entwine in shadowed furs. It's not about who shares your bed, but dominance's fierce grip. Yield and your name crumbles like a rotting hull mockery, echoing through halls, jewels erupting in blood-slicked snow. You feel the stings your air thick with unspoken fears, where a man's reputation hinges on unyielding strength, a perceived softness inviting axes to swing. Women navigate with sly grace, more room to maneuver. In this male-shadowed world, they claim land demand divorces, voice, cravings with bold tongues that command respect. Yet expectations claw deep to assertive, and she's dubbed masculine a twist that sometimes gleams as praise in sagas of heroines wielding swords and sarcasm. But for men, such traits aimed astray summon ridicule, or sorcery's dark accusations where weaving spells or weeping verses marks you as frail. Intrigue simmers here, a whispered ergi could topple alliances, spark betrayals in the night, a rival's blade flashing under moonlight to settle scores of perceived weakness. Society's flexibility hides thorns, do as you will, but cloak it in manliness, lest the feast turn to funeral pyres. The double standards pulse like a hidden vein ready to bleed. You glimpse the cracks in the patriarchal stone where Viking women carve space with cunning edges, their rights a beacon that would envy medieval sisters across the seasland. Ownership divorce decrees shouted like battle cries, preferences declared with the fire of Frasier herself. But the yoke remains outspoken, flames might brand her manly, yet in Viking lore that's often a laurel saga's exalting, sharp-tongued shield maidens whose blades and barbs cleave foes and fools alike. For men though inversion spells doom traits of emotion or foresight linked to Cedar's mystical weave, deemed women's domain unmanly as a shattered shield. Practice it and whispers accuse you of spinning threads shedding tears, versing too poetically, your honour frayed like old sailcloth. Irony bites deep Odin. All-Father, supreme masters of Cedar's arts, his one-eyed gaze piercing veils, but when he wields it, it's cunning strategy, you shameful sorcery, a managerial hypocrisy that echoes through Asgard's halls. You sense the undercurrents of betrayal where a man's dabble in forbidden rites might ignite clan wars, a woman's bold claim sparking admiration or violence in equal measure. Gender's rules negotiable as bartered furs demand vigilance step wrong and duels erupt, blood freezing on frost, reputation shattered. Women empower through defiance their wiggle room, a sensual rebellion, bodies and voices claiming agency in a world of axes and oaths. Yet peril lurks, a misinterpreted act could summon supernatural retribution, curses whispered in the dark turning lovers to rivals. What's your take on such fluid boundaries? Comment as the saga unfolds. You delve into the veiled arts where Cedar's whispers entwine with forbidden desires. A sorcery blending foresight's chill with emotion's blaze, deemed women's realm unmanly for those who bear axes. Men who dare its threads risk scorn, painted as weavers of frailty there, their tears and verses a mark of shame, while women command it openly, their incantations are power unchallenged. Yet Odin the All-Father weaves Cedar with impunity, his ravens croaking secrets as he peers through veils, his mastery a strategic cloak where yours would be ridiculed. You sense the hypocrisy's bite, a divine double standard, rippling through mortal lives where the god's spells summon storms of fate, but a man's might ignite accusations of weakness duels flaring in the night. In sagas, even Odin faces taunts for his mystical bent enemies sneering at his embarrassing arts, yet he shrugs one eye gleaming with indifference. When ravens perch on your shoulders, mortal jabs lose their sting. This magic pulses with intrigue. A whispered incantation could bind lovers or unravel clans, betrayals born from enchanted hearts where a jealous seeress might curse a rival's bed, turning passion to poison. Sensuality weaves through it. Bodies, swaying in ritual trance, touches amplified by supernatural fire violence, lurking. If the spell backfires, a misplaced rune, leading to bloodshed under stars. Gender's rules twist here, empowering women as shamans, while chaining men to rigidity, they're dabbling a spark for societal flames. The irony endures a cosmic jest where power's price varies by the wielder. You stand amid the verbal fray where Viking words wound deeper than wounds, insults no child's play but triggers for steel's deadly song. Question honour, manhood, or bedroom prowess, and the air crackles with challenge. A duel, summoned shirtless under dawn's pale light, swords clashing in woods where blood soaks roots, all because you hinted Olaf falters beneath the furs. At the core lies Enide, a venomous slur category hurling Argi or Raga, unmanly echoes that demand combat legally blessed, often fatal as reputations shatter like brittle ice. You feel the gravity in tight-knit hamlets, a smear of weakness isn't personal. Its annihilation career and kin, doomed by whispers of passivity. It cuts both ways. Baseless barbs rebound the accuser facing exile or blade if proof falters. Words chosen with care lest they boomerang in gore by the fjord. These clashes transcend private truths, rooted in perception rumours, jests gone sour, a glance misinterpreted, all fodder for chaos that questions identity's core. Intrigue thrives. A fabricated NID might mask deeper betrayals, political ploys where a rival's unmanly label sparks feuds, alliances crumbling in sensual scandals turned violent. Society's zero tolerance for trash talk unveils intimacy's public tie. A man's romantic repute his armour. Mock, his yielding and credibility evaporates, banishing him from feasts. Violence heightens the drama duels, visceral, with cracked bones and freezing blood, sensuality in the prelude's heated accusations, where desire's secrets become weapons. Empathetic yet unflinching, these tales reflect resilience amid savagery, humans stubborn in love and war. Your most heated verbal clash, share below. You unravel the threads where truth bows to illusion, Viking disputes igniting not from bedroom deeds, but from the venom of perception, a rumour sithering like a serpent, an offhand quip slicing like a hidden dagger, a jest twisted into betrayal's blade. These clashes erupt over shadows, not substance, a whispered doubt on one's manhood or desire, sparking chaos that devours status like flames through thatch. In small villages, hugged by fjords where eyes pierce every secret, a smear of passivity isn't mere gossip, it's a death knell echoing through feasts until kin turn away, alliances fracturing in the frost. Society boils with zero patience for such talk, revealing intimacy's tether to public facade. Your romantic prowess isn't private. It's your shield mocked as delicate or uncontrolled, and poof credibility vanishes, your feast seat cold as a grave. You feel the intrigue coil betrayals born from fabricated perceptions where a rival plants seeds of doubt to topple foes. Political games veiled in sensual scandals that end in violence. A duel where bones snap like dry branches, blood painting snow in visceral sprays. Sensuality heightens the stakes, a lover's hidden mark becoming fodder for ridicule, desires weaponized in public arenas. Yet empathy threads through humans resilient in their flaws navigate this minefield with wry defiance, turning perceptions into power or peril. The saga's grit intensifies what rumour would shatter your world. Ponder as shadows lengthen. You step into the storm of shattered vows where Viking love sours into vengeance when eyes wander to the neighbour's hearth, turning whispers into roars. Legal tangles and bloodied blades. Adultery. Frowned upon, but unevenly a married woman's slip invites fury. Her husband empowered to cast her out in shame. Divorce her amid public jeers or honour wounded. Deep seizes sword for a direct reckoning, with the intruder perhaps leaving the lover's corpse. Cooling in the snow, life ebbed in a crimson pool. Extreme eye. But passion's fire burns hot here. For a man's infidelity, it hinges on details dallying with an unwed lass might raise brows, but not axes yet. Bedding another's wife crosses the fatal line, especially if her kin boast tempers like Thor's hammer or brothers with sharpened grudges. You sense the spice a wife uncovering betrayal doesn't simmer in silence. She unleashes legal storms, packing furs and declaring the union severed before witnesses striding off with farm offspring and goats in tow. Her exit a triumphant saga. Proof demands more than shadows catch them. Entangled or rally eyes to the act, turning family gatherings into awkward tribunals laced with betrayal's sting. While law might not always sanction the blade, vengeance's culture needs no scroll. A dishonoured home invites shattered doors, barns aflame, or accidents in the hunt. Arrows finding flesh with suspicious precision. Humans cheat anyway, consistent in folly, but here it's less sin than siege on honour, and Holdings who bleeds, who sues, who claims the herd. Intrigue thrives in these affairs, a secret tryst birthing political upheavals, violence, visceral as ribs crack under boots. What's your brush with betrayal? Share as the tale darkens. You witness the wife's fury ignite like a pyre. Her discovery of betrayal, not a silent wound, but a call to arms. Viking women armed with options sharper than any S3X. She doesn't cower. She claims divorce, bundling her world farmsteads heavy with grain children. Wide-eyed goats bleating in protest and vanishes into the horizon. Her declaration a public thunder before kin and foes. Sagas paint these exits as calm tempests, her stride, unyielding, leaving the cheetah stripped of more than pride. Proof, no mere whispers suffice. Accusations demand iron-clad eyes on the act, lovers caught in fevered tangle, or witnesses sworn by gods transforming hearths into tense courts where secrets spill like blood. Awkward feasts follow glances darting like arrows, families fractured by revelations that sting deeper than winter's bite. Law may temper the blade, but engine... It flows unchecked. No edict needed for a door, splintered under boot a barn's roar in flames or a hunt gone awry. An arrow whispering death in the underbrush. Humans stray timeless in their weaknesses. Yet in this realm, cheating weaves a web of peril where a wife's bold recourse might spark clan wars, her exit laced with sensuality's remnants, a final heated glare promising retribution. Intrigue deepens. A fabricated proof could topple empires, political betrayals masked in adulterous veils, violence erupting visceral fists, pounding flesh bones yielding with cracks. The tale's intensity builds what betrayal would drive you to such ends. You grasp the law's cold grip, less a moral compass than a shield for honour and hearth. Viking adultery codes dictating not piety's wrath, but the grim tally of shame. Steel and spoils, who wears the disgrace, who tastes the blade, who herds the livestock home. No scarlet brands sear flesh. Instead, lawsuits unfold like sagas. Duels clash in dawn's chill, and goat custodies turn feasts to battlegrounds, properties division, a wound as deep as any infidelity. A woman's public shaming might end in exile, her lover's blood freezing on snow, while a man's slip invites fines or feuds, his assets carved like a feast's roast. You sense the practicality in a world of raids and rigours. Betrayal threatens alliances more than souls, a straying spouse, unravelling clans like frayed rope. Yet empathy lingers for the resilient humans loving fiercely amid savagery, their slips a testament to desire's unyielding pull. Intrigue layers thick. A noble's affair might cloak political daggers, betrayals birthing rebellions where a whispered liaison ignites war's violence roar as throats slit in shadows. Sensuality haunts the edges, forbidden touches echoing in courtly accusations, bodies remembered in visceral detail during trials. The tone dark and seductive in its grit, congrats on surviving the scandal, pity the frostbite of isolation. Adultery doesn't damn eternally. It reshapes the mortal coil with lawsuits and legacies. Your thoughts on honour's price? As the Viking shadows fade, prepare for mystic veils. You conjure the arcane veils where Viking romance transcends mortal charms, delving into Cedar's shadowy embrace pronounced Seidr, a fusion of sorcery's chill spiritual healing's warmth and vengeful runes for unrequited hearts. This art bends fate's foretelling. Dooms approach, cursing foes with withering blights, taming tempests or stoking desire's flames, a spell to make the indifferent burn with Valhalla's fire. Unreturned affections. A potent incantation twists, wills your form's suddenly irresistible eyes locking in heated gaze, bodies drawing near as if pulled by invisible threads. No coincidence but magic's seductive grip. Cedar's domain favours the feminine women wielding it, as revered vulvas, Shamans, cloaked in mystery, their chants echoing through mist-shrouded groves. Men. They tread perilously labelled effeminate for embracing woman's work. Viking manhood buckling under such weight, though the power tempts with promises of conquest in love's arena. Sagas recount Odin himself mocked for Cedar's mastery foes, jeering his mystical finesse as unbecoming. Yet he persists, unbowed, godly privilege where mortals falter. Love spells vary, benign charms in herbal brews that kindle passion's spark lips, meeting an urgent hunger, or darker enchantments laced with threats. Cows withering if desires go unmet. Vikings spare no half measures. Magic amplifies the visceral touches, electric violence simmering. If consent fractures a rejected suitor's curse, birthing feud blades drawn in enchanted rage. Intrigue weaves deep, a shaman's betrayal might unravel kingdoms. Political ploys hidden in love's illusions. Supernatural elements like forest wraiths luring the ensorcelled to doom. You tread the peril's edge where Sada's allure masks thorns wielding love magic without consent, a double-edged blade legal reckonings, and supernatural backlash awaiting the reckless. Caught in daunting affections and society descends, fines levied like storm winds, exile looming, or duels where steel sings through bone, the ensorcelled's kin exacting vengeance in blood-soaked snow. Misused spells rebound fiercer gods twisting fates, a lover's embrace souring to obsession's madness, or curses recoiling your own heart ensnared in unquenchable torment, body wasting like frostbitten limbs. You envision the fallout, a Volva's incantation backfiring, summoning wraiths from fog-shrouded woods, their icy touches draining life, or political intrigue unravelling as a rival exposes the sorcery clans clashing in visceral brawls, ribs shattering underboots, betrayal's knife flashing in the dark. Sensuality amplifies the danger enchanted nights of heated union crumbling to violence as spellbound partners awakening fury igniting raids. Yet women command this power with agency, their cedar, a defiant thread in patriarchal weaves empowering marginalised voices through mystic veils. The tone grits with sarcasm, fancy a love potion, enjoy the curse that follows, empathy underscores resilience. Humans stubborn in desire, risk all for passion's fleeting blaze. As Viking shadows fade, reflect, what's your riskiest pursuit of love? The first saga ends, but whispers of Yoshiwara beckon. You step through the vermilion gates into Yoshiwara, the floating world of Edo's shadows, where lanterns flicker like forbidden desires, casting a crimson glow on silk robes that whisper secrets of ecstasy and despair. This pleasure quarter, walled off from the rigid hierarchies of Tokugawa Japan, pulses with a seductive rhythm geishas shamisen strings, plucking at your heart courtesans' painted lips, curving in promises that could shatter empires. But beneath the allure lies a cage of illusions, women sold into this realm of perfumed nights, their bodies commodities in a market of longing, where samurai forget their codes and merchants squander fortunes for a touch that burns hotter than sake. You feel the air thick with incense and intrigue, political whispers mingling with moans behind shoji screens where a glance could spark betrayal, a poem conceal a dagger's intent. Violence simmers in the undercurrents, jealous patrons, clashing swords in alleyways, blood staining the cherry blossoms, while supernatural whispers of Yurei ghosts haunt the canals, luring the heartbroken to watery graves. Power dynamics twist like kimono knots, courtesans wielding wit as weapons, defying their chains through subtle rebellions, empowering voices silenced elsewhere. The tone grits with dark wit starving for affection. At least the sake flows freer than blood. Yet empathy weaves through resilient women carving agency from servitude. Their story is a hypnotic lullaby of survival. Immerse yourself. You taste the plum wine on her lips. Hear the rustle of silk as she draws near the world outside, fading. Like this immersion, subscribe and share your own tale of forbidden desire. You behold the Oiran procession, a spectacle of calculated sensuality, where the highest courtesan parades through Yogjiwara's streets and the towering Gita clogs, her steps deliberate as a predator's prowl, 12 layered kimonos, trailing like rivers of silk, each fold hiding curves that ignite the crowd's hunger. Attendants flank her fans, fluttering to veil her enigmatic smile, while admirers crane necks, their breaths quickening at the glimpse of ankle or nape, a tease that promises violence if overstepped. Jealous suitors have drawn blades over lesser slights, blood pooling in the lantern-lit gutters. Debuts amplify the drama. Young apprentices Shinzo ascend to Oiran in rituals laced with intrigue, their virginity auctioned to the highest bidder in a night of heated negotiations, bodies offered amid toasts that mask the tears of lost innocence. You sense the supernatural undercurrent rumours of fox spirits possessing the debutantes, their eyes glowing with otherworldly allure, luring patrons to ruinous obsessions. Power shifts subtly. These women, often sold by desperate families, rise through cunning their processions. A defiant parade of agency in a patriarchal maze. Voices empowered through performance. The tone seduces with grit. Congrats on your debut. Pity the debts that chain you tighter than silk. Empathy resonates resilient souls blending beauty with savagery, surviving winters of exploitation. Chronology builds tension from procession's hook to debut's cliffhanger, drawing parallels to modern cages of desire. No Wi-Fi, just incense and betrayal. You feel her gaze lock on yours, a promise of passion or peril. What's your most alluring parade? Comment as the floating world deepens. You immerse in the apprenticeship's grind, where girls as young as 7 are thrust into Yoshiwara's velvet vice, sold by famine-struck families or orphaned into this glittering hell, their innocence bartered for survival's scraps. Training unfolds like a blade's forging relentless heated learning. Shamasan's plaintive wails, dance steps that tease with swaying hips and fleeting touches, poetry's sharp edges to ensnare hearts, all under Madam's watchful eyes, whips cracking for imperfections, bodies bruised in private rehearsals. Hierarchy rises steep as Fuji Kamuro toddlers fetch tea, their tiny hands trembling. Shinzo teens flirt from shadows, lips painted red, testing allure on lesser clients. Oiran. At the pinnacle, stars whose knights command fortunes, their kimonos heavy with silk and secrets commanding rooms with a gaze that promises ecstasy or ruin. You feel the sensuality's charged fingers tracing zither strings, like lovers' skin dances where robes slip just enough to ignite desire. Violence lurking in jealous outbursts, a patron's fist shattering a screen over perceived slights. Intrigue layers, a rising Shinzo might poison a rival's tea with fox spirit herbs. Supernatural whispers of cursed mirrors reflecting betrayed souls. Power dynamics empower the marginalized women rising through cunning, defying patriarchal chains with agency carved from performance. Tone grit, seductive, mastered the dance. Pity the scars it hides. Empathy for resilience they love fiercely amid savagery. Thematic threads of defiance linking to debut's cliffs. Modern parallel no apps, just incense-veiled betrayal. Trails. You sense her ascent, a cliffhanger of ambition and peril. You confront the chains unseen. Yoshiwara's women bound not by iron but ink. Contracts swelling with debts for every kimono's whisper, every lesson's sting, housing's false comfort meals laced with obligation, tabs mounting like Edo's tides, freedom a distant mirage. Sold by parents fleeing poverty's jaws or orphaned into brothels, more choice is illusion, their bodies pledged to nights of performance passion, touches feigned, yet visceral clients' hands roaming with entitled greed. Bondage deepens. A courtesan's smile hides the whip's memory, her defiance in a stolen glance or hidden poem, but escape attempts summon violence guards at blades. Flashing hair shorn in public, shame bodies, dragged back to harsher quarters where touches turn brutal. You taste the intrigue, madams, plotting with daimyo spies, political betrayals in pillow talk, or whispered secret toppling lords. Supernatural threads weave yokai spirits offering illusory freedom, luring with seductive illusions only to claim souls in misty canals. Power shifts these women. Marginalised voices claim agency through subtle rebellions, thematic survival linking to hierarchy's climb. Tone evokes unflinching indebted. At least the sake dulls the blade. Empathy for savagery survivors, they fight with wit, loving defiantly. Structure arcs chronologically from entry's hook to bondage's resolution in Mookie dreams. Modern echo, no contracts today, but desires still chain. You feel her burden a cliffhanger of accumulating despair. You awaken to Yoshiwara's dawn chorus, the quarters rhythm, a symphony of structured seduction, where courtesans rise with the mist. Bodies oiled and powdered in rituals that blend grace with grit. Hair pinned in elaborate coils, faces painted white as snow. Lips crimson as fresh spilled blood. Each stroke a mask for the exhaustion beneath. Daily life pulses mornings in festons, fingers blistering on shamisen strings. Dances rehearsed until feet bleed. Afternoons in tea houses pouring sake with calculated spills that brush clients' thighs, igniting sparks of desire. Evenings erupt in performances, kimonos shedding layers like secrets touches lingering in shadowed alcoves. Rituals of flirtation turning visceral under lantern glow. You sense violence's shadow, a spurned suitor's rage, shattering porcelain blades drawn in jealous frenzies, blood mingling with incense. Intrigue thrives, whispers of shogunate spies and client guises. Political plots hatched mid-embrace, a courtesan's ear catching treasonous moans. Supernatural veils onabi lights, luring the unwary to canals. Ghosts of betrayed lovers haunting futons. Power dynamics empower women voices, marginalised wield agency through these rites, defying patriarchy with every seductive bow. Tone unflinching, survive the night, pity the dawn's debts. Empathy for survivors resilient in savagery, loving defiantly amid exploitation. Structure arcs, daily cycle hook in dawn's promise cliffhanger, in night's peril. Modern parallel, no filters, just make-up veiled betrayals. You feel her routines wait, a hypnotic grind. You navigate the blurred lines outsiders mistaking geisha for courtesans in Yoshiwara's haze, but within distinctions cut sharp as katana geisha as entertainers, their allure in arts weave shamisen melodies. Seducing souls haiku witty as daggers sake, poured with grace, that teases without touch, dances inches from faces yet untouchable. A flirt's laugh, echoing insult if more is demanded. Courtesans reign as stars legally, sex workers, yet culturally idols, clients paying not for flesh alone, but desires theatre, silk-draped poems of passion, pursuits spanning months, wealth and persistence, the keys to futons where bodies entwine in heated visceral unions. You taste the tension, confuse the roles, and humiliation strikes, tea houses ringing with mockery, violence ferrying, a mistaken hand met with slaps, or worse blood on tatami. Intrigue deepens. Courtesans' ears catch daimyo, secrets mid-thrust, political betrayals birthed in moans, geishas versus concealing coded rebellions. Supernatural threads, kitsune spirits blurring identities, luring patrons to doom with illusory touches. Power empowers marginalised women defying chains through professional agency voices, rising in song or sigh. Tone-evocative geishas tease, at least no blood on your hands yet. Empathy for struggles, resilient amid savagery, loving through illusion. Structure contrasts roles, hook in misconception, cliffhanger in blurred nights. Modern Echo, no apps, just performance-veiled power plays. You sense the divide's peril, a seductive divide. You uncover the sparks of rebellion where Yoshiwara's women forge autonomy from illusion's forge choice. A mirage, yet defiance their hidden blade. Witty barbs in tea houses, slicing through patrons' egos. Rebellious glances, mid-dance flashing like daggers. Secret poems tucked in sleeves versus venomous as scorpion stings. Sold orphaned or poverty thrust. They arrive chained but rise through cunning. A geisha's haiku, mocking a lord's folly, a courtesan's refusal veiled in silk, turning pursuit to humiliation. Mookie freedoms, rare patrons buying release. Not always romantic rescue or fresh ownership, futons exchanged for estates where touches linger possessive. You taste the grit defiance in a fan's snap autonomy in a stolen breath. Violence erupting when overstepped a madam's whip cracking skin, or guards' blades drawing blood in escape chases. Intrigue coils poems as coded messages to rebels outside political whispers, toppling shogunate plots mid-embrace. Supernatural aid Obeki spirits granting illusory escapes, luring pursuers to doom. Power empowers voices, marginalized women leading subtle uprisings, thematic survival threading through rituals, tone seductive, unflinching, defied the cage. Pity the scars it leaves, empathy for savagery's kin, resilient loving through blood and desire. Structure arcs, rebellion, hook in subtle acts, cliffhanger, in Mookie's uncertainty. Modern parallel, no chains visible but desires still bind. You feel her quiet roar, a hypnotic defiance. You trespass into forbidden flames. Samurai sworn to honor's code. Duty's iron, loyalty's blade. Stoic as stone yet, Yoshiwara lures them to forget a silk-lined trap where incense clouds judgment, smiles know too much. Touches ignite treason. Romances with courtesans taboo. Not scarce but perilous, common sparks in powder. Kegs for her love shatters, her commodity veil. Favourites risking brothel balance. A heated embrace birthing jealousy that ends in violence. Rivals daggers in dark alleys. For him, stakes lethal, compromising Bushido scandals noose. Defying class chasms, meant to sample and vanish, not linger in passion's grip. Yet it blooms, repeated visits, draining coffers, secret haiku etched in blood ink, love letters smuggled in fans, her hand squeezing his in shadows, verses slipped into sleeves as vows. These aren't flings, rebellions against masks, bodies entwining in defiant union. You sense the brutality, samurai selling swords for knights losing rank wealth. Lives seppuku-ordered blades gutting honor in ritual agony. Women punished humiliations, paraded transfers to brutal houses where touches turn savage. Intrigue deepens affairs as shogunate ploys year, whispers mid-thrust unseating lords. Supernatural twists Yurei lovers haunting dreams, luring to cursed pacts. Power shifts, women empowering through seduction voices, defying patriarchy. Tone gritty, intense, loved a samurai. Congrats, the blade awaits. Empathy for doomed resilient in savagery, loving to ruin. Structure arcs, romance hook in taboo cliff, hanger in consequences. Modern echo, no codes, but hearts still betray. You decipher the verses code poetry, no mere diversion in Yoriwara's haze, but a clandestine tongue haiku and tanka fluttering like sakura petals traded between geisha courtesans and patrons, with burdens too perilous for speech, longing veiled in metaphor, a fan-concealed stanza bearing a heart's ache without uttering love. For Oiran and Kinverse's curriculum honed to improvise elegance from sorrow, flirtation from fleeting blooms, a courtesan's response to yearning, a haiku of distant moons or unfordable rivers, gentle rebuff in 17 syllables, or if flames reciprocate a lifeline woven in ink, promise or oath disguised as art. Samurai merchants, court poets flock not for flesh alone, but verbal duels, blades of wit clashing with women whose quills match their gazes. Sharpness, love letters, artful folded, precisely scented with plum, slipped into round sleeves or getter each a risk-laden gem. You sense the peril of madam's prying eyes spelling lashes, a lingering client marked for scrutiny, a lord's discovery unravelling careers or lives in seppuku's blade. Yet verses endure some legendary archived in tomes echoed by lovers chasing desperate grace, others incinerated pre-dawn ashes drifting like hazards too volatile. Intrigue deepens poems as espionage political daggers in floral guise. Supernatural yokai inspiring cursed lines luring readers to doom. Power empowers marginalized voices claiming agency via verse. Tone evocative poem a transaction yet fragile real. Empathy resilient in savagery loving through peril. Structure arcs, poetry's role hook in secrecy, cliffhanger in risks. Modern no texts, just ink-veiled hearts. You tally liberation's cost freedom, no reverie in Yoshiwara, but arithmetic, a figure, a toll courtesan's elite, shackled by pacts heavier than manacles, debts for tutelage's stingrobes, opulence lodgings. Facade sustenances bite, each accruing, faster than cherryfall. Muki the exit, a benefactor, opulent trader or retired warrior, settles the sum, freeing her from Red Lantern's glow romantic veneer. Often illusion, trading one enclosure for another. Concubine, paramour, shadow, spouse, paraded at whim, seldom equal. Some truly salvaged wed to affluence or quiet existences beyond Edo's clamour, but most shift servitude's bodies still currency, in veiled estates. Escape sans payment, tales sour, Yoshiwara, fortified eyes everywhere fugitives punished, paraded, shorn in disgrace, demoted to grim houses where touches brutalize. Yet rarities vanish, servant disguised palanquin, hidden lover, risked becoming myths whispered in kabuki, bittersweet flight's liberty, but at what sacrifice? You feel the defiance, hope in mutual tales, folk songs, nocturnal poems under tatami dual lives, performed facade, dreamed escape. Intrigue, Mukia's political bribes, benefactors, toppling rivals via redeemed spies. Supernatural Tengu aiding flights, cursing pursuers. Power voices empowered through calculated risks. Tone gritty, free, taxless hope alone. Empathy resilient, loving defiantly. Structure arcs, escape hook in debts, cliffhanger in legends. Modern no ledgers, but freedoms still priced. You chase the fugitive's shadows. Escape in Yoshiwara. No dream, but desperate calculus women. Plotting flights, sans mukis, coin tails. Twisting grim guarded walls. Vigilant eyes. Attempts, crushed with savagery, captured souls. Paraded through lanes. Locks, shorn in ritual shame, crimson cheeks from slaps, or exiled to squalid dens where clients' touches turn feral bodies bruised in night's violence. Yet rarities succeed, veiled, as maids, concealed in palanquin's gloom, others hazarding all daggers drawn against guards, blood slick on cobbles, hearts pounding in moonlit dashes. These become legends. Kabuki echoes with bittersweet finales. Freedom snatched, but tolls, heavy kin, forsaken identities shed like shed skin. Pursuits endless. You feel the pulse autonomy clawed from chains. Defiance in every stride, intrigue in coded maps smuggled via poems. Supernatural allies, Kappa, aiding canal swims, cursing hunters with watery dooms. Power marginalized voices rising in flight's rebellion. Tone unflinching escaped the ghosts pursue. Empathy resilient amid savagery loving through peril. Struck